Important public notice, we are being smoked, people, just like bees. March 21, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. When beekeepers want to work with active beehives, they use smoke to put the bees to sleep. Perhaps you have seen them at work in real life or in movies. They have little pots similar to the incense burners used in churches and temples that they swing slowly and rhythmically to distribute the smoke without unduly alarming the more vigilant bees in the community. The bees gradually calm down and return to their homes for quarantine in place, separating themselves apart from their natural community and leaving themselves isolated and unable to front the kind of united response that invasion by human hands would normally provoke. Instead, they just sleep while the beekeepers steal their honey and make other untoward changes, such as removing the queen from the colony and placing her in a new hive. This is what is going on, and we have identified the usual suspects, the Brits, the Israelis, and the Federal Reserve, a bunch of mostly Israeli and/or Spanish Sephardic banks you've probably never heard of, that are arguably the worst organized crime syndicate in history, promoting human enslavement as usual, only increasingly mechanized versions thereof. Donald Trump is marching right along in lockstep with their agenda, apparently clueless or corrupted, falling for their money magic and going along with their coronavirus scam and 5G and their white rabbit pellets, too. What needs to happen is for the Federal Reserve to be recognized as the international, indeed, global, crime syndicate that it is and has always been. What needs to happen is for the Federal Reserve to be audited and dissolved, liquidated, like the Wicked Witch of the West. What needs to happen is for the U.S. Congress to be openly dissolved, as it already is, in fact, liquidated. You should no longer see any references to Donald Trump or any other elected official acting as President of the United States as the municipal corporation operating under that name is being liquidated and the settlement is pending. What needs to happen after that, is for the British Crown and British Territorial Government United States Congress to be recognised for what it is, and for it to be brought back in line with its actual job here according to the actual constitutions. Let's go back to the point of the pending settlement of the United States corporations. Most, if not all, of their assets are owed to us, the American states and people who paid for it all. Mr. Trump's administration is trying to claim all of that payola in the name of the United States of America, and in some cases, as we saw in Mr. Roach's lien, the territorial revenue has been funneled through individual states of states. In that case, the state of California. However, the actual fact of it is that all that money and all those materials were bought using the actual and factual assets and the pre-paid credit of the American states and people, so everyone needs to know that. None of it legitimately belongs to the United States of America, and none of it belongs to the Fed. Please pay attention and note that the Federal Reserve System was bankrupted in 2009, and what remains as the Federal Reserve System. Everything was converted from municipal to territorial jurisdiction, and now the further revenue, as in changing venue for a court, has to be completed, which means that our assets have to be returned to us and to our control, or the territorial government of the United States of America is out of compliance with their contract, their constitution, to provide good faith service to the United States of America. Everyone please wake up. The political status of United States citizen was created by the constitutions. It does not exist independently. This is the reason that every member of the military takes the oath to protect and defend against all enemies both foreign and domestic. Without the Constitution and without adherence to the Constitution, the United States being referenced, ceases to exist. We, the states and people of the United States, continue to exist. We, the states and people of the United States of America, continue to exist. But both of our remaining federal subcontractors operating as incorporated entities, cease to exist the moment they fail their duties. This is due and public notice that we, the states and people of the United States, are being disserved by the coronavirus aka common cold hoax, and that all demands to force vaccinations on anyone not directly employed by the territorial government are illegal and unlawful and should not be honored by any thinking American. This is due and public notice that we, the states and people of the United States of America, have rebutted any and all presumption of municipal or territorial citizenship, have assembled our lawful government, and await the return of our assets and our credit to our possession and control, as required and mandated by venerable treaty, constitution, international law, and territorial code. All world governments are hereby placed on alert that all U.S. patents have returned by operations of law to the original delegator of the powers that were exercised by the United States municipal government. All ownership interests are vested in the states and people of this country, not the territorial United States or its government. All actual property chartered under our delegated authority and purchased with our assets and prepaid credit are ours and must be returned to us and placed under our control for any settlement of the United States, Inc. bankruptcy to occur. Read that, any territorial revenue must be followed immediately by a complete revenue back to the lawful jurisdiction of the United States of America, unincorporated. There is no constitutional provision for territorial custodianship of our gold and silver beyond securing it for our use. Similarly, there is no territorial custodianship of our land assets beyond securing them for our use. All attempts to buy off on the cheap the individual claims of Americans who have been misrepresented as United States citizens or citizens of the United States via the issuance of token individual checks as pretended settlement of their claims against the United States and against the United States, Inc., are hereby rebuffed in public, in front of the entire planetary population.